A person wants something to go right, a test result, a job interview, a safe trip, a message they hope someone answers, and without thinking, they cross two fingers. Sometimes they say it out loud, fingers crossed. Sometimes they do it quietly, almost like a tiny private ritual. It is one of the simplest signs of luck in everyday life. No candle, no charm, no long prayer, just two fingers pressed together. But why those fingers? Why crossing them? And how did a small hand gesture become a way to ask for good luck, protection, or a better outcome? I'm Earl, the creator of Everyday Sayings and Origins. To keep each episode consistent, I use my digital likeness. Now, back to the story. Today, crossing your fingers usually means you hope something goes well. You might say, fingers crossed I get the job, or fingers crossed the weather holds, or fingers crossed everything works out. The gesture can be serious, playful, or somewhere in between. Some people really feel like it helps. Other people do not believe it does anything, but they still say it because the phrase feels natural. That is how many old gestures survive. They move from belief to habit, from ritual to expression, from something people may have taken seriously to something people do almost automatically. Crossing your fingers sits in that space. It is part superstition, part hope, and part everyday language. One common explanation connects the gesture to Christianity. The crossed fingers may have been linked to the shape of the cross. In that version, crossing the fingers was a small sign of faith, blessing, or protection. The cross was already one of the most powerful symbols in Christian tradition, so making a small cross with the hand could carry meaning. It could be a way to ask for help, a way to guard against evil, a way to bring divine protection into a moment of danger or uncertainty. That explanation makes sense because many hand gestures have religious roots. People have long used the body to express belief. Hands folded in prayer, a sign made over the chest, a touch to the forehead, a gesture of blessing. Crossed fingers could fit into that world, a small shape made quickly with the hand, a symbol of protection that could be carried anywhere. But as with many old customs, the story is not perfectly simple. There may not be one single moment when someone invented the gesture and gave it one fixed meaning. It may have grown from more than one habit. That is common with gestures. Unlike written words, gestures often spread without being written down. People copy them. Children learn them from adults. Communities attach meanings to them. Over time, the action remains even when the original reason becomes blurry. That is probably what happened with crossed fingers. The gesture may have carried religious meaning. It may also have carried older ideas about protection, luck, and warding off harm. Then, as time passed, it became something people used more casually. Today, most people who cross their fingers are not thinking through the full history. They are thinking, I hope this works. That is the power of the gesture. It turns hope into a small physical action. And that matters because people like to do something when the outcome is uncertain. Waiting is uncomfortable. Hope can feel helpless. When there is nothing else to do, a gesture gives the feeling somewhere to go. You cross your fingers, you knock on wood, you wish on a star, you say a little phrase. The action may not change the outcome, but it changes the moment. It lets you participate in the uncertainty. That is why crossing fingers has lasted. It is quick. It is easy. It is portable. It does not require an object. You do not need wood nearby. You do not need a lucky coin. You do not need a special place. Your hand is enough. That makes the gesture extremely useful. You can do it in a classroom, in a car, at work, in a hospital waiting room, during a game, before opening an email, before hearing news you cannot control. The gesture follows people because the body follows people. There is also something interesting about the crossing itself. A cross shape feels like a mark. It closes space. It makes two lines meet. It creates a small symbol where there was only a hand before. That may be one reason crossed fingers feel meaningful. The action is simple, but it looks intentional. You are not just holding your hand naturally. You are making a sign, and signs are powerful because they give invisible feelings a visible form. Hope is invisible. Fear is invisible. Uncertainty is invisible. But crossed fingers can be seen. Even if the gesture is small, it tells a story. I want this to go well. I am not fully in control. I am hoping for luck. That is why people sometimes cross their fingers behind their back. That version has a different meaning. If someone makes a promise while secretly crossing their fingers, it can mean they do not really intend to keep it. Children often use it that way. They might say, I promised, but my fingers were crossed. That is a strange twist. The same gesture can mean hope in one setting and escape in another. On one hand, crossed fingers ask for luck. On the other hand, crossed fingers behind the back can act like a secret loophole. That second meaning may also be tied to older ideas of protection. The person is making a small sign that cancels or shields them from the words they are saying. It is playful now, but it shows how flexible symbols can become. A gesture does not always keep one meaning forever. Its meaning depends on where it is used. Fingers crossed in front of you usually means hope. Fingers crossed behind your back usually means the promise is not fully honest. Same hand, same shape, different message. That is one reason this gesture is so interesting. It is small, but it carries more than one story. It can be public or private, serious or playful, hopeful or sneaky, a sign of faith, luck, protection, or escape. And because it is so easy to do, it keeps appearing in everyday life. The phrase fingers crossed also became bigger than the gesture itself. People now write it in texts. They say it in emails. They use it in conversations even when their fingers are not crossed at all. Someone might type, "Fingers crossed for good news." No one can see the hand gesture. But the meaning is still clear. That shows the phrase has fully entered language. The gesture became words. The words can now stand on their own. That happens with many physical expressions. A body action becomes a phrase. Then the phrase survives even when the action is not performed. People say, "I will keep my fingers crossed," and everyone understands the feeling. It means, "I hope this turns out well." It means, "I am wishing for the best." It means, "I know I cannot control this, but I care about the outcome." That emotional meaning is why the phrase works. It is not only about superstition, it is about shared uncertainty. When someone tells you, "Fingers crossed," they are joining you in hope. They are saying, "I want this to work out too." That can feel comforting, not because the gesture has power, but because the support is real. There is a social side to many lucky phrases. They are not only used to control fate, they are also used to connect people. If you are waiting for medical news and someone says, "Fingers crossed," they are not giving you a guarantee. They are showing care. If you are waiting after a job interview and someone says, "Fingers crossed," they are not changing the decision. They are standing with you emotionally. That matters. A small phrase can carry encouragement without making promises. That may be one reason "fingers crossed" feels safer than saying, "Everything will be fine." Sometimes nobody knows if everything will be fine. Fingers crossed does not pretend to know. It simply hopes. That makes it honest in a quiet way. It leaves room for uncertainty while still leaning toward the good outcome. There is also a reason this gesture belongs with other luck habits. Knock on wood, wish me luck, cross your fingers, do not jinx it. These phrases all live near the same feeling. Something good might happen, something bad might happen. Nobody knows yet. So people reach for a small action, a phrase, or a ritual. Not because they have proof it works, because waiting without doing anything feels strange. Luck customs give people a way to mark that waiting. They turn an uncertain moment into a shared human habit, and crossed fingers may be one of the easiest of all. That ease helped the gesture travel. A complicated ritual can fade when people stop understanding it, but a simple gesture can last for centuries. Children can learn it quickly. Adults can use it without thinking. It can be serious enough for hope and light enough for a joke. That flexibility keeps it alive. It does not ask much from the person using it. Just two fingers, a quick twist, a small sign, a hope. So why do we cross our fingers for luck? Because the gesture likely grew from old ideas of protection, blessing, and the symbol of the cross. Over time, it became a simple way to express hope when the outcome was uncertain. The original meaning may have been more religious or protective, but the modern meaning is broader. Today, crossed fingers say, "I hope this goes well." They say, "I cannot control what happens next." They say, "I am wishing for the best." And sometimes that is all a person can do, a tiny sign, a quiet hope. Two fingers crossed while the future makes up its mind. If you enjoyed discovering the story behind this everyday gesture, subscribe to Everyday Sayings and Origins. Each episode uncovers the hidden history behind the words, phrases, rhymes, and traditions we use without thinking. I'm Earl. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next origin. Peace.